the agenda for today is to have an introduction to serverless, and then we have a number of labs, about 4 labs. We might not get to all 4 labs, and then we'll have pizza and beer and some networking for those that want to chat. Right. The idea is that we're going to build a static website, and then we're going to share some resources so you understand how to do Ajax programming with serverless on Amazon. And then we're going to add a dynamic function using Lambda. And then we're going to show how to go at doing HTML form processing. So on the repo, there's this link called sample site. And I'll just show you what it is, so what we're building, so no one can see. So this is the sample site. So this is showing us how Ajax can be pulled in. This is all done on Amazon and using serverless technology. And then we have a dynamic function. And then we have form processing, which we'll go through afterwards. Right, so let's get back. So I think what we start with is just a basic definition of Wikipedia's definition of serverless. So I just copied this from Wikipedia. But in essence, Amazon's serverless is effectively a compute model where you can where the existence of servers is basically hidden, so you don't really care about servers. So in most IT departments, you always have some tech person or architect that will manage the servers, system administrator. And when your program or your site is on a particular load, he then has to re-architect the site. With serverless, you don't have to worry about that. All you care about is your function, what you're programming. It takes an input, it takes an output, and that's it. For the labs, we're only going to be touching S3, Lambda, and API Gateway. There is a hidden 5th lab, which I didn't finish because we're never going to get to it, because when we tested it in the trial runs, we never got to the 5th lab. But I'll quickly show you in case people are interested. So I'll just click here. So if people are interested, then just let us know on Meetup. But the 5th lab actually has DynamoDB and Kinesis, so you can do real-time data processing. I'll just shorten that so everyone can see the picture. So let's go back. So I think we'll start the labs. All right, someone's just arrived, so I'll quickly, just before we start, show the list. So if anyone hasn't logged in to the Wi-Fi or the repo, just take a picture now. Right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to download the code for these labs. So on the repo, you have 2 options. You can do a git clone, or you can just download it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click this and download as a zip. And what I'll do is on my desktop, and do MV did it call it? DevOps. Copy that to desktop. So I'm going to open it up here. And I've got this folder here now. So I'm just going to open it in an editor. So I have them all loaded up here. If everyone can download the files, I'll just go back to here. Actually, I need to start this as well in the meantime. Right, so has everyone downloaded the files? Downloaded the files? But you guys, you downloaded the files? Yes. But you guys at the back there, you downloaded the files? Right, so let's start then. So the first lab, if you click on the tab here, where it says Lab 001, actually all the instructions to do these labs are actually in the repo, so you can actually follow them anytime you want. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a website using an S3 bucket. So the first step is to create a new bucket. So we're going to do everything in the origin region, Oregon. So if everyone can make sure when they're on the Amazon account, they're actually on Oregon. It's important. The first thing we're going to do is going to go to S3 and we're going to create a bucket. And if we go to here, we know that the naming format we're using is your name and playground. The reason why we're using this naming format is so I can clean up afterwards. So my name is Sunil.
Sunil, you can make it bigger. Thank you.
So if everyone's done that, use their own name, not mine. And remember to put in .playground 11. Then we're going to click Next. And I'm going to mention something about S3 buckets. So S3 bucket is a serverless service, and it offers a number of features. But one of the features I want to mention here is version. You can enable versioning, and once you've enabled it, you can only disable it. So it's always on. The other thing also to note is that any versions of your files that you upload, so if you had a file called elephant.txt and then uploaded another one, then that will become the old one will become version 1 and the new one will become the primary. And you will be charged for all the versions all the copies that are in that S3 bucket. We're not actually using a versioning. Please do not turn it on. Let's go back to here, and it says, so all we're doing is just going next, next, and create bucket.
You don't select any of the options.
No, we're just accepting the defaults, and then just do create bucket. So now we've done that, if you look on the repo, the next step will be to go to the files that you uploaded, and we're going to upload our files to this S3 bucket. So the first thing I need to do is actually find my bucket, go into it, and then I'm going to upload, add files. Now I put them on my desktop in this folder here, and oh, that's tiny. If you can see, it says here Lab 001 website. Yep, so the first one, it won't select the subdirectory, so we'll do that afterwards. We're just going to upload the files, and we're going to do next. Let me just shorten that a bit. Is anybody got any more questions? And one thing we do next, and then we're going to choose here, grant public read access to this object. It will become more apparent afterwards.
Just select everything.
Sorry?
In that one.
Yeah, so I selected everything in a directory. So I'll do it again just to make sure everyone understands. So I'm clicking upload, add files, and then I'm selecting all the files. It doesn't select the CSS, but that's fine. We'll come back for it. We click open, and then I'm just going to do next, and I'm going to choose grant public read access. And do next. And so I'm going to quickly mention one more thing about S3 Bucket. S3 Bucket has a number of storage classes, and you use them for different purposes. This standard AI stands for infrequently accessed. So basically, what that means is that if you get charged at a lower cost using that storage tier, so it just takes a few minutes, but then the files will be available.
It's slower, right?
Yeah, it's just a fractionally slower.
Sorry, which option is slower?
This standard infrequently access. Reduced redundancy is anything that you can live without, basically. So if your site got trashed, you could recreate those files. So that particular storage tier is actually used for image generation files like thumbnails. So you can always regenerate your thumbnails.
And it's cheaper, I guess.
Yeah, so reduced redundancy is actually cheaper. I did hear a rumor that they were going to get rid of it, but that was like 2 years ago, and they haven't got rid of it. So I suspect they've abandoned that idea. Zone infrequently access. I don't actually know that. I'll be honest with that one. It's new to me. So I'm going to upload the files. So once the files are uploaded, I need to create a folder called CSS. And in this CSS folder, we're going to upload the folders that we didn't do the first time round. So all of these. We'll do next. And very important here, where it says public permissions, we want grant public read access. And just do next. I'm just going to upload. It's fine. So if everyone's done that, just give me a heads up. So in the repo, we're actually at this step here now. Enable static website hosting. So if we go back, has everyone uploaded the files? You guys done it? What about you guys at the back? All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Properties, and then we're going to go to Static Website Hosting, and we're going to click on this, which says use this bucket to host a website. And then I'm going to type in here index.html and error HTML. Does everyone manage to do that? So if you click on the, I'll go back. This is your bucket. You go to Properties, and then you click on Static Website Hosting, and then you use this bucket to host your website, and then you just type in index.html and error.html. Then you just click Save. Now what you want to do is you also want to remember this link. So if I click on that here, this is the new website that I've just uploaded, and so you will have a similar one. That. So has everyone got this website? You guys got it at the back? You got it? Did you get it? So if to access it, you go to let's just save that. You go to static website that you just enabled. The link is actually there. So you can see it's there. Just open it in a new tab. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is we've now created our website, and we now understand how to host a static website on S3. This is all serverless, so it's on the S3 bucket. You don't have to worry about servers or anything. Amazon takes care of everything. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move on to Lab 2, unless anyone's got any questions.
Make it all public when I upload the first files.
So that's fine. What you do is you select all your files and you say make public. So if you go to the bucket, you can do here and then go to more, and then there should be an option saying make public.
Yeah, thank you.
You might need to do that for the CSS folder as well, so you'll have to go in there. Okay, so if we go back to Lab 2, now Lab 2, what we're going to do here is we're going to create another S3 bucket, and then we're going to share the resources into the first S3 bucket, where we're hosting as a website. The reason why this will come a bit more apparent in a few minutes is that this is what's known as cross-origin resource sharing, and you need to apply this policy because you can't, websites are actually blocked on web browsers. So this isn't an Amazon thing, this is actually a web development thing, where you can't have a website having resources from a different domain. And so you need to enable this cross-origin resource sharing. Now, the reason why this is important in serverless development is because if you want to do Ajax, chances are you're going to have your website and the assets in one bucket, and then the resources for doing Ajax calls like map images or some sort of code from another bucket. And so in real world scenarios, you're going to want to have multiple buckets pulling into your website. And this technique allows you to do this. So the first thing we need to do now is we're going to create another bucket. And so if you look here, the big difference here is that I put your name, then you put dot, CORS, dot, and then playground 11. So all I'm going to do is, and I go here, go to S3 here, and say create bucket. And then my name, Sunil, dot, CORS, dot, playground 11. Whoops, 11. So I'll just increase that so everyone can see it. Cross origin resource sharing. Can everyone see that? And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to click create. We don't need to go over the same steps. So now if I type in my name here for search, you should see 2 buckets. There's more in my name because I did a test earlier, just to make sure the labs will work. So has everyone managed to create the second bucket? No? I'm going to... Should I move on? Have you guys done it over there at the back? So in this bucket, what we're going to do is we're going to upload some files. Okay. All right. So here, in the folders that you downloaded, there's going to be another folder called 002 cores S3 bucket, and we want to upload those files in that bucket there. So it's very important that you don't upload all the files, yeah? It's a specific folder. So I'm going to go to cores, and we want the folders, all the files that are in this bucket here. So it should be 3 files. Now I'm going to do next, and then I'm going to do grant public read access. And I'm just going to do upload, because we don't need to see the other menus. We're just going to accept defaults.
Does it matter if you didn't set the permissions for the bucket to public? Because I can see.
So that's fine. What you can do is you select all your files.
Yeah.
So I'll show you. So
No, the files have changed the permissions to public. It was when we created the bucket the first time round. I didn't set the permissions to public, so I can see some other ones showing as public and a few not.
yeah, so your bucket shows up like this. The files inside the bucket will be public. The bucket itself isn't.
The bucket itself shouldn't be public?
No, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it should be fine because you're going to when you enable static website hosting, you don't actually use the link that you would get to. There's a public-facing link for the S3 buckets. You don't use that for the hosting the website. It's a different link.
Okay.
You get that link when you enable it. So where am I? So if we go to here, we see this. Now we're going to go to properties again, and we're going to go to static website, and we're going to enable this. I'm going to type in. So we're literally doing the same thing. It's like hosting another website. And then I'm going to click save. So we should be here on the document. And now if we go to open the endpoint, so in order to see the endpoint, I click on here, open that in another browser, and you should see this. And your website address should have cores in it. All right, so has everyone done that? So next step is a little bit more difficult.
Almost.
You want to change it? What do you mean? So you mean on the website? So if you go to S3, go to your bucket, whatever which one it is. It doesn't matter. You can do it for both of them. So if I do cause, then go to properties, static website hosting. So it's just 2 pages, one for 404 and one for index page. Right. So now I want you to load up the one of the pages, which is called cause. It's in the root of this lab 2 called HTML.
Load it into an editor.
Yes, we need to load it. We're going to edit this file. So some of the files you're going to edit. And what we're going to do is we're going to replace this word called demo text with the link to our cause website. So if we save this, so if everyone's got this page, their own one, you want to copy the link. And what we're going to do in here, I don't know if can everyone see that? Give me a sec. So it may look big there, but it's massive on my laptop. I need to be able to see it. So what I'm going to do is here I'm going to paste in the link. Can everyone see that? So I pasted in the link, and I still kept the demo.txt. And then I'm going to save it. Has everyone done that?
No. Is it the link where you've got the script? I'm trying to find where the link is. Is it that one?
Did you save the
Oh, no, there's 2. I've got.
This is it should be the same. Use the same name. Let's keep the demo text. Use it. Yeah. Right, so there's a little bug. So where it says demo text txt here, you actually need to use the file name that's called cause_demo text. So all we're doing is just typing in cause_demo text txt. So has everyone got that? That's good. So we're going to save that, And once everyone's saved it, what we're going to do is we're going to upload it back to the S3 bucket. So the most important thing is getting the right bucket. So the bucket that you want is not the one which says CORS. It's the one with your first name and .playground11. Because the reason why is because that website that we did earlier, it's actually going to replace this page with the next necessary link for this to show this up. So if I go into my playground folder, then I'm going to upload. Oh, then let me get rid of all that junk. And so the file that I just created, so it's my desktop, that's the one I just edited. And I want to upload these two files, demo.txt and cause.txt. And then I do next, and then I do grant public read access. Now if I upload, so let's just quick recap. What have we done? We've uploaded the file, we've edited it and uploaded it to this bucket. So has everyone done that? So you'll know it's changed because your website would it would say lab started or not. So it's changed here. So when you haven't started the lab, it says lab not started. So you should see a page like this. Has everyone seen a page like this? So now if everyone clicks on their get content, what happens? Did you get it working? Did you get it working? What about you guys? Did you get it working? Got it working? So nobody managed to get it working.
How are we doing?
There's one step missing, didn't say to make it public again.
So you have to make it public.
I did it without, but you do need to.
All right. So what's actually going to happen is it's not actually going to work. There is a reason for why it's not going to work there. I'm going to show you why it won't work. So if I load up my one, if I click that, it doesn't work, right? And I'm going to explain to you why. It's actually, so I'm going to load it up here in Firefox, not Firefox, Safari. And here we have something called developer, and I'm going to open up the JavaScript console as soon as I see where it is. So the most important thing here is that it was never going to work, all those steps that you did, for one reason. If you remember, I talked about cross-origin resource sharing and the domains being different. We need to tell at the S3 bucket that we're using a different domain and we trust that domain. You can't just pull resources and assume that it's going to be safe. So we need to tell that. And so whenever I click this, it's trying to collect information from another bucket, another web link. Because the two website links are different, right? And it's trying to import that into this website. So if you look on this console,
I use Chrome.
so you can use Chrome as well. All you want to do is view the JavaScript console, and what it will show you here is that it cannot load. And if you look here, I don't know if you can see it here. Maybe I can So everyone can see that? It's quite tiny actually. But it says fail to load resource origin is not allowed. Access control origin. That's why. And so it wasn't because I was being mean that I made you go through all that and then it didn't work. We will be fixing it in the next step. So if we go back to our thing, it says here, what do we need to do to get it to work? Well, what we need to do is we need to go to the S3 bucket and we need to copy this bit of text here. Just bear in mind that when you copy it, you need to put your link in for your website. So we go to here and we go to S3 bucket. You don't choose any bucket yet. So you choose the one which says cause, because that's what the instructions say here. It says here, look, with the bucket SQL. We want this bucket the way we want, and I'll add this. So I now go to properties. No. Sorry, I go to permissions. I do cause configuration. I just paste it in here. And because I need my original website link, the first S3 bucket, so it's the website without the cause in it. So can everyone see this?
You're expecting a call error after you fix the cause one.
No, so this is fixing the cause one. What we're saying is we're going to allow the other website to pull the resources from this one into it.
Yeah, but once I fix the cause one, it's a cause error.
You've got to?
Call is usually. So I fix the cause one, then straight after it's got Google me then, it's incredible. I think it's a typo with an obscure error message. So yeah, so you swap from a call error to a call one. I've doubled up the
So I'm going to save that. And then let's see what it says here. It's saved. And so now it should work. So what wasn't working before.
It still says the Java console as phone up here.
Sorry?
The Java console, it still shows me a window this works.
Let me have a look. It didn't used to do that before. So I'm going to load this page up. This works on mine. That's fine. So there's So has everyone understood what's happened here? Shaking your head. Why are you shaking your head? So the whole point of this exercise was it was kept very, very simple, but it's just so you can understand the technique of using Ajax. And this is what you would have to do on your static website if you wanted to pull resources from other websites. Has everyone got it working over there? Did you get it working?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. That's the one that I've got, yeah. Oh, I uploaded the right actually, because I already had it open. Then I uploaded it, I think, the registry. Also, it does remember, so you do need to.
Sometimes.
Let's have a look. I'll show you my one. So if you look at my one, so it's the website without the cause on the cause S3 button. Has everyone managed to get that working now?
What are we supposed to see when it's working?
So when it works, it would say cause is working in red when you click on it. Before what was happening was you were seeing nothing when you were clicking it.
On which link? Which one of the links?
So you're actually building up the website as we go through the labs, and it's the one without the cause. We're pulling this from a cause website and then taking that content from that website and putting it in here. And the only way that works is if you enable this cause policy, cross-origin resource sharing. So you need to do this because this is a standard web thing. It's not an Amazon thing, but in order to get it to work on a website, you need to tell the buckets that it's safe to take content from that and then inject it into your website. Because if you could inject all sorts of stuff otherwise. This is an enforcement that the web browsers do.
Where does it say like you apply the second tab?
Sorry?
On the website, there are multiple tabs with calls. How do you know that that same applies on that tab?
But so you mean how do I know that this is the text from that site?
Not at things like go back. Move, pause, API, API.
So this one,
All the things that changes
yeah.
because a lot of multiple tabs, right? So wherever you link, okay, that text is coming under the calls tab, right?
So when you click on this, it's just opening a new web page. This is the first S3 bucket. What you did is you built a website when you uploaded those files. And what I did was with each of these represents a lab. And I said lab not started. So as you progress through the labs, this word will disappear and you'll have more functionality added to the site. So you can see as you progress through the labs, you get early feedback. This is DevOps, and DevOps is all about getting feedback. Does that answer your question?
How does it the tab, okay, the calls tab, how is it linked in the code?
This tab.
Yeah, where is it linked in the code?
So this is just HTML. It's just standard HTML. So if I do show source, bugger, how do you show source on this?
Right click, view text.
We're still getting the error.
Who's getting the error? So all this is just standard HTML. So if you create a static website with HTML, you'll create these tabs. Let me,
So previously it was blank, right? What was the previously on the cost?
sorry?
What was the previously on cost?
What was the purpose of it?
Previously it was blank, the
Yeah.
website was blank.
Yeah, so previously what would have happened is you wouldn't have seen this cross-origin resource with this button. What you would have seen was cross-origin resource and this red text not started. So that's why in the next lab, this is the API gateway. You've got an API gateway, but it says lab not started. So has everyone managed to complete lab 2?
Yeah, I had a script rotation that was random.
So a lot of the stuff here isn't complicated. I've kept it purposely simple so you can look at the code and then modify it into your own needs. So the site itself is very basic if you look at the HTML. So you got a question?
You have to click something to enable holds and then add the holds. Your instruction is to enable holds.
So you can put your website and just copy it. So you've all seen Google Maps, right? So the way Google Maps works is it brings in tiles of maps, right? What it's actually doing is if you've got a website and it's pulling those map tiles from somewhere else and injecting them into the web page. So that's basically known as asynchronous JavaScript with XML. So I can show you here. So server script Ajax. So I didn't set it to Yahoo. It's somehow done that. So basically, this is what you're using Force for. So if you want to do JavaScript injection, so like XML injection, or if you want to do JSON injection into your website, then you'd use this technique for doing that, to add dynamic elements to the website. Because what it is with S3, it's only hosting a static website. But if you want to add something dynamic, then you can use client-side JavaScript to pull in from another page. So that's why I kept the whole technique very simple. So you can see it was just one piece of text that it was pulling. So the idea was that you guys will probably go away and look at these labs again.
So the text structure is same dynamically.
Yeah. So if you look,
like for example, it's a fixed, right? Like
yeah.
Text, right? If you need to change.
So if you look here, the actual text was this.
Always change dynamically.
Yeah. Can you see that?
Okay.
So it was pulling that text into the other website. So it was taking it from one website, grabbing it, and injecting it into the web page.
In a sense, like dynamically, if you need to change.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's doing. Dynamically, it's just pulling it in and merging it into the web page.
No, see, this gets updated again. Okay?
So if I
update the text,
yeah,
again
so
it upload into S3 bucket.
yeah, and then it will
it
will just pull the updated text.
From the Git repository.
So if I was to edit this and re-upload it, it will pull it again. I can show you that if you want, but we're running out of time. I'm going to get a whipping in a minute. So is everyone comfortable with this? Should we move on to the next lab? So the next lab is API Gateway. So in this one, we're going to write an actual Lambda function. And what we're doing with that Lambda function, let me, I'll bring up the sample website again because the sample website is a complete website. And what we're doing with this is we're going to generate a random number. So this is going to be very simple code to generate, to take a function and then add that to our website. And so I'm going to start here. So we're going to go to lab 3 now. And what we're going to do is, we've now done all this, we're now going to do this bit here. So we're going to use API Gateway. I've already created the API Gateway, so we can skip that section. All right. But if you want to do it, not today, but the instructions are in there. And we're going to use Lambda to create this function to generate a random number. So the first thing we need to do is go to, it says here, Services, Compute Lambda. So you can see that I'm actually reading it off because we've done this lab last year and I only ran it at 5 o'clock in the morning this morning. So they do work, all the labs work. So when you're in here, the one thing that's important is make sure that we're using Oracle. So we're going to click on Create Function, and we're going to give it, we're going to choose runtime, we're going to use Python 2.7, drink some water. And we're going to give our function a name. So what am I going to call my function? I'm just going to copy it from here, basically. And I'm going to use my name. You guys are to use your own name. No one's named Sunil here, so I shouldn't see any clashes. Right, so another important thing is we're going to have to choose an existing role. And we're going to choose random execution role. So I'm just going to quickly go back to the repo. And if I go back to the beginning, the reason why I say that is I set up the Amazon user account that everyone logged in. I added these roles to that account. So when you're at home and you want to reproduce these, you'd create an Amazon user and you'd have to add these roles. These roles already exist, they're managed roles. So they'll already exist in IMA. So that's why we're choosing here, choose existing role and land an execution role. So has everyone got that far? So make sure you choose your own name, underscore, generate random number. Runtime is Python 2.7. And choose existing role. And then Lambda execution role. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do create function. And so it's going to create all this. And here, we're going to add our code. So because we're using, I've decided to use the language Python because it's very easy to read and it's quite simple. The problem with Python is that indentation matters, so we're going to copy it from the file and not the repo. So your function should look similar to mine. We're not going to add any changes. This is good enough. And also we're going to add a description. So I've got it in this in the repo. Where is it? We're doing lab 3. And for description, I'm just going to copy that. So with Lambda, what it is it's executing for a short period, and you can choose how much memory you want. And because the function's so simple, that we can just use the defaults. And you can choose, I think its maximum is 5 seconds. for timeout. We're just going to accept the defaults here. We're not going to apply it to any VPC. So is everyone, I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to click on save. Is everyone there? Has everyone done that? So the next step is to set up our testing environment. So if we go back to here and then click test, it's going to bring up this window. And what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this, because Lambda is an event model, so you have to generate some sort of event. But because our random function doesn't take any input, the event is just going to be me firing the function. And so we don't actually need this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it as blank.
So what happens if we separate the same information?
What happens?
If we don't delete that information?
Actually, nothing's going to happen. But I'd rather you did it this way because I tested it this way. And we're just going to call it empty event. And then I'm going to click on create. So if everyone does that, once everyone's done that, you should see something like this. Congratulations. It doesn't mean it's done. All it means is it's ready to test. So I'm going to click on test. Fingers crossed, which it has. It says result succeeded. So I know it's going to work because I've tested it. But so now this is our function, the output of our function, 97. So if I was,
we don't see the memory configuration on those particular missions. There. It wasn't scrolled down.
Can you scroll down that way? So, sorry, question. By default, it writes to CloudWatch logs.
yeah, it will. So
If
if
you
you,
give permission, then
yeah,
you
so-
can access IAM access to CloudWatch. Or
yeah, so what it is that's actually a very good question. Anything in the program that you print, so if you see this print loading function, this will end up in your CloudWatch logs.
so a print statement made that.
Yeah, so a print statement is effectively a logging to the CloudWatch log. So, sorry? So when you clicked on, if you look here where my mouse is, there's this test button. If you click test, it should bring up a menu. So because I already created it, you might need to do configure create test event or create test. So if I edit this, all you were doing though is effectively writing the word empty event and then having nothing in there, because this function doesn't need any inputs. It's just running and then giving an output. So now we know the function works, because if I run it again with test, this number 27 has changed to 67, 50, 36. So we know it works. There's no more. So now we know it works. The next step is to create a new API. So if we go here and then go to API Gateway, so I've actually done this step for you. And what we're going to do is we're going to be very careful what we do here. The reason being is because you can only deploy an API every so often. So if I deploy now and then try to deploy quickly again, I'm going to have to wait 2 minutes. That's why we're all going to use the same API. That's the real reason why you guys aren't doing that. Because if everyone goes to do it, then it's just It's just not going to happen.
So it should be meetup 11.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. So last time I ran this, last year, someone else decided to do something clever, and he used Meetup 11 and then messed it up for everyone. So I've got 2 this time. And so this time we're going to use Meetup 24. So if someone messes it up, we can at least fall back on Meetup 11. All right, so I'm going to go back here, and our first step is to create a resource. So the API has already been created. I've clicked on Meetup 24. So we go here and then we do create resource. And it says resource name and path resource. So I'm going to go back here, and my resource name is random number. So everyone's to do the same thing. Just call it random number, it's fine. And resource path is different. So resource path, we're going to have different for everyone, otherwise you're going to have clashes because we're sharing it. So in my case, I'm going to have my name, you guys are going to have your name, because no one's named Sunil here. So has everyone seen that? I think this is going to be the last one, then we should have pizza. All right, and here it also says enable API gateway cause. Click on yes. So I think we all know why we have to click on yes now. Is that not right? Or we could always fail and then go back and do it again. All right, so I'm going to click create resource. So what we've done here now is we've created this this path, but we haven't finished yet. Now we need to give it a method. So here we've created the resource. We've gone here. We've created the resource button. Now it says here get add a get method to random number path. So the way we do this, we click on R1. Create method, and then we do get. Then you click this little ticky. Has everyone done that? You should see this screen. It's very important that everyone gets to that. I'm not going to move until everyone's got here. That gives me time to drink some water.
Which one are we on the API?
So, number 24. So we create method, action. Oh, sorry, create resource. Then you copy it from the repo. Right, so has everyone got to this screen? So the reason why I held on here is because our integration type is Lambda function, because we want to integrate Lambda. We want to use US West 2. Let me double check that. Yeah. So that was the reason why I said make sure you're using Oregon, because that is US West 2. And then for your Lambda function, I'm going to write my name. You guys are going to write your own name. No one should have the name Sunil here. And then it actually auto-completes, and it finds out your Lambda function name. So mine was Sunil underscore generate random number. So it should do the same for you. Has everyone managed to get that far? Right, so then what we do is we click on save. And it says add permission to Lambda function. We just click yes to that. hope it kicks in. All right, and then where are we now? So we're here, we've created a Lambda function. So now we're going to test our Lambda function. So to get test method, click test link. Oh, I remember doing this morning. Click the test button. Yep.
If you just go back here, because mistakes.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah, and just start from here.
Right, so if everyone clicks on the test button again, and then just click the test button underneath here at the bottom. And you should see the number changing here. So now you know your function is working. So we're not done yet. There's still a lot more to do. So now we know that works. It says here, during demonstration, the instructor will do this step. Please do not do this right now. I will do it for you.
It's a timing thing again.
Yeah, this is a timing thing. So if I deploy now, then we have to wait 2 minutes before I can deploy again. That's why. And so if everyone had created their own API in 2 minutes, the pizza's going to get cold.
There was a whole load of rewriting code in Ansible to get that to be reasonably stable. Otherwise, you've got to retry much longer than otherwise done.
Right, so is everyone ready for me to deploy? Not yet? All right, so I'm going to now deploy. So where is it? So I'm going to click Deploy API, and here it lets you create a new stage. So I'm going to create a stage called Dev. Just going to call it Dev here. So that actually deployed, so no one messed up. That's good. So it says here, next step is to remember the invoke your URL. So we need to remember this. So if everyone goes to Meetup 24, Stages, and Dev. So go here, then here, and hope you see that. Yeah. You got that? All right. Let me remember what I actually wrote. All right, so I need to copy this, and so do you, and open it into a new tab browser. Then I'm going to slash. I'm going to type in my name. You guys are going to type in your name. And the instructions say random number. That was the path that I chose. All right, so I have kind of a little convention to make. So the next step is we're going to add the link, and I had purposely put a little gremlin in just so everyone understood what cross-origin resource sharing was. And so in the repo, it would have failed again. So, but because we're running short on time, we're going to skip the failure.
Redeploy API step, you need to do that again.
Yeah, so basically what was going to happen was that we're going to edit this file and I'm going to put the link that we just tested here. So do you remember on this link here, I had it working? So in order to get this working on your website, it's going to fail basically because it's from a different domain. So that's why we need the cause. So first thing we need to do is we need to edit this file called API Gateway API GW.html, and it's in the lab folder here. And I've purposely kept it simple, so all we're doing is
These lines missing in the file we downloaded.
so,
Those lines missing the file that we downloaded.
let's have a look.
So we want to, for which line?
This
So if you're on lab 003 lambda, there should be a file called API GW.html. And in that file, there's there's a line on line 14 called API underscore GW request. And if we look here in instructions, it says here, you need to replace this bit of text with the invoke method name with your path. So in my case, it's Sunil underscore random number. So if I just copy that, I put that there. Now I know this link works because I can see it working here, right?
Yeah.
And you'll have your own one, and you should see it working. So you've seen it working, right?
I haven't gone that far. I'm just curious.
Okay. Have you guys seen it working?
So we've got a load.
So do you remember this bit?
Yeah.
Or should I go over that step again?
Yep, remember that. And remember, it's not working for everybody. Who is it that one? Some of those guys were there.
So if it's not working for you and you, all right, so Michelle.
I can use yours.
Yeah, I was going to say, just use my link. So in principle, it's the same thing, right? And so it says here, update the S3 bucket, which represents your website. So if I go back here and go to services and I go to S3, I find my bucket. Now my bucket, whoopsie daisy, is here is Sunil.playground11. So yours will be the same. Well, with your name, not mine. So I go into here and I do upload, and I upload the file. So I'm just going to make sure I've actually saved it. And so I go here and now I now go to lab 3. This is the file I just updated. I do next, and I set the permission to grant public read access, and I just click upload. So now what will happen is my link, Sunil Playground, where it says API lab not started, this should go away, and it should do the same for you. This red text should no longer be showing. So you should get this. Now if I click on external content, nothing happens. So I did say we're going to slip it. So it was meant to fail. So the point here is in a previous lab we learnt that cause you need to enable API gateway to access the site link. So on your get method, so if I go to resources, find my get method. There's so many now.
Yeah, I know of that, but it didn't work. So you need to redeploy the API.
Yeah, I have to redeploy them. Okay. And where are we? It goes to get method, then enable cause actions. So if I do action, enable cause, and I click yes.
On each individual endpoint, yeah?
No, it's
It's on your
so it says here I need to redeploy the API. So I'm going to wait because I can't keep doing it. So if everyone at some point gives me a heads up on when it's okay to redeploy.
Sorry, why did you redeploy?
Because we didn't enable this cause, and so it's not actually accepting the input from this API gateway link. Because remember what I said about cross-origin resource sharing? It's a security mechanism on web browsers, and because the domain is different, because API gateway has its own domain, we need to let it know that it's okay to accept this domain.
It doesn't show you in AWS, it doesn't tell you that you need to redeploy, does it?
No, because the thing is, you might not want to do enable cause. That's why.
Yeah. But you've ticked it, you've submitted it, it doesn't say you need to redeploy your API.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It doesn't tell you anywhere.
No, I haven't actually seen that. That's a good question. I haven't actually seen that. Maybe this will show it. So I'm going to deploy the API again. So dev1. I'm going to give it the description. Deploy API. Deployed it, and now it should say refresh the API gateway and press the content growth. So fingers crossed it actually works. So that should work for you guys as well. Please tell me it worked for you. Did it work for you guys? Well done. Well done.
You're gonna leave these.
And I believe that concludes the meetup.